And of course, now that I've set up, it's just a matter of moments when it'll start raining here in beautiful Shelton. Good morning, Michael. We are live on
Good
our
morning, New York, Vinnie.
Mikey and Vinnie network here. Michael Knight over there is down in over there, I should say, is down in Pasadena, California. I am coming to you this morning from the Ridge Motorsports Park in Shelton, Washington, which is well, let's see. I was talking to a guy this morning. I asked him, "Well, where's the good neighborhood in Shelton?"
Ah,
He
it is
still hasn't
raining, isn't
answered
it?
me.
No.
He
You're
says, "I'll have to
walking.
get back to you on that." And he's a real estate guy.
If I were to look over your shoulder and 100 yards down the road, I would be seeing a state facility for the criminally insane, or what's it called?
Well, I don't know if it's for the criminally insane, but we are right by the state prison facility at Shelton, right across the way from it. And I guess they put this track here because the prisoners can basically complain about the noise all they want, and you know nobody's really going to do much about it. It's like I mean I don't know why they don't put more prisons under the runway at the airport.
There you go. No, nobody would notice them or mind. It would blend right in, and it would still be a service to humanity.
Yeah, exactly. Not a big deal at all. But
You're going to
anyway,
be. You're not going
okay.
to drive a Rolls Royce today, are you?
I am It just went past, Michael. I am driving today a Rolls Royce
Ah, you're a
Cullinan,
lucky man.
and we are going to put that sucker through its paces. Now I'm gonna. It's of course now that I've set up,
It's
it's starting
raining.
to rain. So I'm gonna.
Get under there. Get under there, buddy.
I am prepared, Michael. I want to do this. I wanted to do this show outside, so I am fully prepared to do the show outside. As long as this particular piece of
Protection.
protection here stays up here, I think we'll be okay.
So,
How's that? Does that look
autom-
weird enough, or
yeah, it looks intimate. It looks
good?
authentic.
Well, just imagine me coming out of a tent.
So
There's a guy I watch on YouTube that goes camping in all these weird places, like the side of the highway, this, that, the other thing. So he does his show from inside under a blanket, under a tent, on the side of the freeway. So just consider that we're doing that this morning.
now, what is the Mudfest for people who don't know? Could you give us a some idea?
Sure. The Mudfest is the Northwest Automotive Press Association, which I've been a proud member of for, geez, I want to say 25 years. Well, that was going to just spill my coffee.
If you want to say
Um,
it, if you want to say it, say it.
anyway, yeah, so Mudfest is the Northwest Outdoor Activity Vehicle of the Year competition. And what we have here is about 21 or 22 different vehicles that manufacturers enter, and today we drive them around on asphalt and get them, try to see which one goes fastest, which one is more comfortable, which one is more suited to the Northwest lifestyle. Then tomorrow, with the help of the rain, we will take them through a course that's set up that includes hills, mud, mountains, water, creeks, and everything in between. So it's a real interesting thing because we get to put them through their paces, and then tomorrow afternoon sometime we will vote on the best vehicles, and those will become the the Nawapa Mudfest Activity Vehicles of the Year. The defending champions on those are the Hyundai Santa Cruz, I believe, the little
From
pickup
last
truck
year.
from last year, which I'm enamored of. I love that little truck, and the Mazda CX-50 also won last year is the best. Both of which I am proud to say that I voted for. All right, sun's out again.
It's a
Let's get rid of
sunbreak.
that. It's a sunbreak. We're now in raging bright sunshine, and although we've spilled our coffee, but that's okay. So this year, among the highlight vehicles, We have the 2023 Ford F-150 Raptor, which you heard start up before. That's sitting over there. That thing is a monster.
It sounds like it was well named. It has the
Yeah,
attitude of a raptor.
yeah. It will. It's from the minute you hit the gas to the minute you get out of it. It's uh, it's going to suck down a lot of gasoline and make you feel very macho. I think it's about a $90,000 truck, if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to make you feel like your $90,000 was well spent. It's not going to disappoint you. The Toyota Tundra TRD Pro is here, which is another truck that I enjoyed a lot when I drove it. It's also going to make you feel like you got your money's worth in the cars, and those cars, I mean, they're very, if you like Quien Mas Mucho Macho pickup trucks, those are the things. But the cars that really I look at these things are the 2 and 3 row and luxury SUVs, because that's the Northwest car these days.
Now you're talking. Get me into some luxury, and I'll be happy to drive around in the mud.
Well, in luxury, we have the 2023 Wagoneer, the 2023 Rolls Cullinan, the 2023 Lexus RX, which is the new electric Lexus. No,
I
it's
bet
not the
that's a
electric.
good
I'm sorry.
vehicle.
And I just drove that a couple of weeks ago. That's a beautiful one. The Genesis GV70, the X7 BMW M60i. BMW is taken to put a lot of different nomenclatures on their cars. They're really kind of funny because the more letters you put on a car, it seems, especially when they're electric, the more it seems that people gravitate to that car. And
You
then there's
mean so it
okay,
has a name, it has a name, some numbers, and then some letters?
yeah, it's the X7 M60i. And I'll tell you a funny story. The BMW. I mean, people that buy BMWs love them. I mean, they're I mean, it almost has a cult following. Matter of fact, I watched "And Justice for All" last night in the room before I fell asleep, and Al Pacino is driving a BMW 2002, one of those old little square cars, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
and they still hold up today as a really a great looking car. And but so the only thing that people have to complain about on the BMWs, Michael, the biggest complaint from owners, from people with those cars, are the grills. They don't
The
like the
grill.
grills.
They don't like them. Why?
They went from kind of that kidney shaped small grill to trying to make a statement with their grill. So they have these large grills now in the
Is it
front.
as large as the Lexus grill? Because the Lexus is like a front-loading.
Well, no, actually, Lexus on their new model have toned down the grill. They've actually put a panel on top of the grill and made the grill smaller. So while Lexus is making the grill smaller, BMW is making the two grills, the kidney grills, larger. So I don't understand what the fascination is and why people. But it's the oncoming statement of the
Yeah,
car. The
right.
car has a huge grill, so I guess it's supposed to make you feel like, I don't know, like something.
For a long time, we always compared BMW and Mercedes Benz because they were both out of Germany and they were brothers of the European car manufacturing hierarchy. If you had to choose a car to drive across the country, would you choose a BMW or a Mercedes? Any model?
Wow. Boy, there's a certain love about Mercedes that I have. I mean, there's just something about that particular brand of car,
Yep.
and the new electric Mercedes that we see out. There's not one here. Mercedes didn't send a car this year. They usually do, but there's it's just a fine car. So I would probably, although I will also say that BMW, one of their big BMWs, man, it's hard to beat those cars for speed and for handling
Yes.
and and just the kind of the kind of enjoyment that you get, the connection you get driving that car. So I would probably go with the Mercedes over the BMW, but not by much. I'd be happy driving either one. Although I got to tell you, if I get to pick one of the cars out of all that's here today to drive across country, I think that would probably put me, say, that the Rolls Royce
Yeah.
would be the one that you'd want to take across country. That's just
Think of the sensation if you were going through College Station, Texas, in your orange Rolls Royce.
think you're going through East St. Louis, where chances are you'd get hijacked or carjacked or something like that.
You get your rolls rolled.
Yeah, that's the thing about driving a car like that out on the street is you have to be, and as obviously we're seeing now, there are people who are trying to dispel that rumor by just shooting anybody who comes near their car. Uh, Seems to be in fashion right now in
Even though
America.
they're driving a 1967 Isetta with the front door duct taped shut,
They don't
they still,
care.
no, they still respond with a shoot them up.
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad that we are experiencing this, especially after what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, and the guy came and opened the door. And what did I say? If I had a gun, who knows what I would do? You would hope that you would react in a way that would, not require the use of a gun. But I do know one thing, though, and I'm positive of one thing, that when that happened, the last thing that I ever would have done would be to get out of the car with the gun and walk over to the guy's Lexus that he was
Yeah.
driving and pump a couple of bullets in him just for opening the door of my car.
Just for making a statement, claiming
Yeah,
your ground.
yeah.
What's the Florida law? Stand
Stand
your
your ground.
ground.
Stand your
Stand your
ground. Yeah.
ground.
Yeah. I just, once the imminent danger is over, there's no reason to be shooting anybody, is there?
We talked about the stand your ground thing as it applies to skunks. See how it works for them? They stand their ground, and what do you get? You get a stinky road because the
Yeah.
skunk is as stubborn as that 86-year-old man that shot the 16-year-old kid and then was
Yeah.
let go by the police. I thought that was interesting idea of law enforcement.
Well, as we're finding out, there are many different ideas of law enforcement in this country, and while you can be a supporter of the police and be somebody who says, "Oh, yes, the police are necessary and they have to, keep law and order," you also have to look sometimes and say, "Well, what in the world are you doing? Um, why are you feeling like you feel? Why are you?" Uh, I mean, in this case that we just saw, why are you endorsing lynchings? and thinking that's pretty cool, that's fun.
It wasn't just the Oklahoma City. I can't remember the small town in Oklahoma, but the county commissioners in Oklahoma that feel that way. But it's also today the Antioch Police Department. Their cop communications have been made public, and it's ugly conversation of the most racist and dismissive and juvenile variety that just takes all the fun out of being a citizen in Antioch today. You have someone you want to introduce?
Well, yeah, in a minute we're going to bring John Vincent on, who is a frequent guest on Drive Time, and he is just the former president now. It's hard to believe that he's not the president anymore of our press association. I wanted to bring him over here for a second and talk to him a little bit about the event.
Well, of course, I'd
talk a
love
little
to
bit
meet
about
him.
what's going on. John, say hello to Michael Knight.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good morning, John. It's nice that you had time to be our guest this morning, and take good care of Vinnie today, would you please? Because I can't be there to follow his every move, so I'm putting you in charge. Not hearing you guys. Vinnie, not hearing you. Vinnie, you have no audio. No audio. No. No. I assume you can hear me. I cannot hear you. As soon as John sat down, the audio went out. Nothing. It's dead as a doornail. And I've never seen a doornail, but I'm speaking as if I had.
Do that. How's that?
Beautiful. Good job.
All right, there we go.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, John. That never happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
We're gonna edit that out of the
Out
out
of
of
the
final
live
version.
out of the live broadcast. Yeah. If you're listening, if you're watching, if one of the many people that are listening and watching, do us a favor. Just forget the last 60 seconds.
And forget
Just
what I
watch
said
that
last
remote.
Wednesday. I said something last Wednesday that I regret. I can't remember what it is because I've already forgotten it. So if everyone will just join in and join me in
Well,
forgetting it, we'll be better off.
Well, you said that he should keep an eye on me, and that's when the whole thing went mute. So I think probably the good idea is to stay away from trying to enlist people to keep me in check, and we'll be okay.
It never works out.
Yeah, never does. John, let's talk a couple seconds about this event. This is I don't know what is it about the 27th one in a row that
I
we've
think
done.
About the 24th one in a row.
24th.
We
Wow.
missed a year in there, but I think this is our 24th Mudfest.
24th month, and I mean, this used to be an event that, and you've seen the evolution of cars in this event to where when we first started doing this, it was basically Jeeps and four-wheel drive pickups.
You know, I came across the original paperwork from the first event, and it was S10 Blazers. It was the first Explorer. It was Jeep Cherokee. It was body-on-frame vehicles that, you know, a lot of them we had to get out and lock the hubs on to put in four-wheel drive.
Wow, I mean, that's talking old school. That's when I was a kid. You had to get out and push that thing and turn it to one old Warner hubs, man.
Yep.
The old Warner lock and hubs, and now everything here is at the very least luxurious. To some degree, I mean, it's certainly more luxurious than those cars, and I mean, we have a Rolls Royce running by. That's an off road vehicle. I don't know how far off road you want to take it.
I think that it's far more capable than you would imagine.
I,
I've actually off-roaded that in some pretty good stuff, and it's amazing.
it really is. I mean, if you have $450,000 and you don't want to put that money in the bank to repair your Land Rover, maybe you just go and get the Rolls Royce.
You put your name on the wait list for the Rolls Royce because you just can't go out and buy one. They're in so high demand that they're pretty much sold out.
Now, what's different about that particular car? Because you don't see. I mean, if I go down to L.A., where Michael is, I see a ton of Rolls Royces down there. They're stacked up on top of each other. So
And now Bentley's have got an SUV, and I'm seeing a lot of Bentleys.
yeah, the Bentayga, is it?
Bentayga.
Bentayga, yeah. So everybody's getting one. Everybody's going to have an
Ferrari
SUV.
has one now.
Ferrari has an SUV.
Yes, they do. It's not really an SUV, but they're calling it an SUV.
Yeah, because once Porsche dove into that situation, everybody kind of jumped in. But here in the Northwest, I mean, we all love the vehicle, but is it something that the people here in the Northwest go out and buy, or is that car looking more at, I don't know, the Subaru over there, or the Sequoia, or the Kia?
The Northwest buyer is buying every SUV on the market. It spans the market. And out here we have everything from, imagine it, a Hyundai pickup truck to that to the $453,000 rolls, and these cars are all selling well. There isn't a car out here that is not selling well in the Northwest.
Yeah, I was talking to Jerry Spahn before from Rolls Royce, and he was saying that they're selling all they can print.
The best way to get a Cullinan right now is to buy a certified pre-owned Cullinan from Rolls Royce.
You hear that, Michael? If you're thinking about getting one, certified pre-owned is the way to go.
I'm not certain I can handle the orange. Do they come in any more muted colors? Because I'm a very quiet although I'm ostentatious, I'm quiet in my ostentatious nature.
Well, the one we have out here is white.
There you go.
Yeah.
Last year was orange.
Yeah, the orange car didn't show the dirt as well, so they wanted to bring something here that showed the dirt on the car and make sure that you had a.
I have a question for John.
Yes.
Yep.
When they started mixing the SUV with the luxury interior and all the amenities, did anybody fight that and saying it was the wrong way for the market to go? And how wrong were they?
Let's use Porsche as an example. Porsche aficionados screamed to high heaven when Porsche started talking about the Cayenne.
Right.
And now, if Porsche did not have the Cayenne and the Macan, Porsche would not exist in the United States, because those are the cars that are funding the company and funding the dealerships and allowing it to survive in the U.S.
So the market showed them what they wanted, and they wanted a Porsche Cayenne.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing that and again, it's not just the Northwest. I mean, it's all over the country. Is these cars are you take a car, you stick a pickup truck, or you stick a back on it, and you make it an SUV, and you're almost guaranteed to sell it.
Yep, it's like printing money.
And these are the cars that are making enough money for these companies so that they can go out and do the stuff like electric car development and stuff like that. This is where these cars are what's funding it.
And interestingly, we have the first full electric vehicle in the event this year, and it is fantastic. It's the new Genesis GV70 electrified. It's an amazing car, and it's as much SUV as any of these out here.
Is Genesis having any trouble finding a spot in the market to sell their units in America?
They're not having any problem finding spots in the market for these cars.
Excellent.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they're actually it's probably one of the most popular, if not the popular. I mean, I haven't read a bad review on a Genesis at all. I haven't seen any writer. Usually, you're going to find one or two people that are going to say, cost a piece of junk or this or that. I haven't read one negative review on a Genesis.
It's Genesis is on a roll with everything that they're building. They're doing a great job.
And they have the Woody Allen, the orb, the sex orb in one of the Genesis, where you just touch it and you immediately cargasm.
Well, maybe
is that what it is?
I do. I touch that orb and I just feel manly. I
remember Woody Allen when the most exciting thing he did was wear a corduroy suit. So things have changed in Woody's life, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's things. Yeah, well, yeah, a lot has changed in Woody's life, but still, Bananas was still a great. Or no, that was Sleeper. Actually, I'm sorry, I was in the wrong Woody Allen movie.
Speaking of movies, John, do you maybe this is out of your wheelhouse, but do cars find it desirable and important to be part of movies where there's chase scenes and their cars is
absolutely
shown in a favorable light?
Would James Bond movies be what they are without the cars?
Oh, what a car! I love that car.
So
yeah,
plus it fires rockets when there's traffic on the 405.
That would be handy.
I'd be up for that. Although, if you don't look out on the 405 or the 5, you may wind up getting fired at, not by a rocket. I mean, you really got to look out these days. But no, I think that's, product placement in, especially among cars. I mean, they have whole, groups of people that just work with the movie studios to get a particular car. And it's even got to the point now where they'll have that particular car that's in that movie in showrooms, so you can, after you see the movie, you can go out and buy one if you want it. And or they do a special edition of the what was that movie a few years ago? The BMW, the I movie that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they actually created a model of BMW.
Yep.
That actually appeared in the movie
The i8.
iRobot.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
i8 and the iRobot.
Yeah, iRobot, and it, I mean, the two things you remember that movie for is the iRobot uh, car and the iRobot vacuum cleaner, which.
And this is nothing new. I mean, remember the big Fords in Hawaii 5.0 and
Yeah,
the Starsky and Hutch car, which you can see down at the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles. Those cars were a big part of those, and car makers spent a lot of money getting their cars into those shows.
yeah, and it's funny too because you think about, okay, the Bullet. It was never intended to be a model. It just happened to have a couple of green Ford Mustangs that they set up, and now Ford sells, I don't know, 3,000 Ford Bullets every year
in Highland green. Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's a great car and a great and they're great little cars too. They're fun to drive, and anybody who's older than 50 looks at that and goes, "That's a cool car." Under 50, don't know what you're talking about. John, let me ask you before we let you go. What are you looking at out here that you like? What's the thing just by looks? Because I know you haven't driven anything yet. Is there anything by looks that's impressed you?
The Genesis looks great. The new Sequoia looks great. There's a lot of great stuff out here. Trying to get down below skin deep today. The Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek is one of the cars that they're trying to put some more off-road credentials in with a little bit tougher look. We're seeing that on the Nissan. We're seeing that on the Honda Passport or Honda Pilot Trail Sport. There's a big trend towards making some of the SUVs look like the older SUVs and have the capabilities of the older SUVs.
That Honda surprised me in how good it was off road. I mean, it was, I was kind of expecting like, okay, they put the stickers on it and this, but they actually went back and reworked that car.
Yeah, they did, and it's big time into tires, and that's a huge factor on that on that Honda. It now has the right tires.
Yeah, and tires when you go off road, man. If you don't have good tires, you're screwed.
Yeah,
you're gonna wind up.
John, talking to you, I just thought of something talking to John.
Thank you for jumping off with us for a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Vinnie. And if you want to see more of my stuff, it's at U.S. News and World Report.
Yes, U.S. News and World Report is which I didn't even mention it, so thank you for reminding me.
No problem.
But U.S. News and World Report is where you can read John and his car reviews and information about the automotive business that he writes so eloquently about. It's going back to rain again, Michael. It's
okay,
on and off. I'm getting under the tent again. This was probably not the smartest thing in the world to set up outside, but it kind of is what it is at the moment.
Just don't get your computer wet. One thing I thought of when you guys were talking, there's a school here in Pasadena that maybe you've heard of it. I don't know. It's called the Art College of Design.
Yes.
And it's one of the rare schools at the university level for college students, for art majors, for art specialists, with a automotive design department. And I just wonder, do automotive companies take interest in that, get new designers, get new engineers, get new ideas from the cutting edge of the art schools where there's specific opportunity to study automotive design?
Well, Mikey, actually one of the interesting things that has happened in automotive over the past, well, it's always been there, but we see it more now, is competitions for different design competitions. I just judged a competition a week or so ago about that was for the Society of Automotive Engineers, and it was college kids from different art schools and design schools, designing vehicles. And
I like it.
listen, this is where the future is coming from. And it's nothing new, because it's been like that for years. They've always looked at these schools and said, let's go out and find, the best of the best and bring them to Detroit or to Southern California. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to think of how many, but there's probably about 5 or 6 or 8 manufacturers that have their stuff in their design studios in
Mhm.
Southern California. Toyota is huge on that. Hyundai is huge on that, where the design studios come out of Southern California, and I think they fully take advantage of things like, that design studio in Pasadena.
That's interesting because it takes us right back to Brian Wilson and Roger Christian. The culture creates demand of certain ideas. Nobody wanted a GTO before there were GTOs. They didn't know what the world was going to be like with a GTO. They could see the world without one, and it looked better with a GTO in it. A beautiful, fabulous design on the cover of a Beach Boy album that sold some cars.
Yeah, yeah, it sold some cars, and it was, car culture is changing.
Right.
One of the things that is going on in cars right now is, a matter. We just talked about this on Drive Time last week. That there is a young people are not driving as much as they used to. It's not, when we were kids, you went over to the Department of Motor Vehicles the day you turned 16, and you
I
were
was
looking to get a
get
driver's license.
get your learner's permit at 15 and a half and take the class at high school and you're on your way.
Exactly, and it doesn't work like that anymore. It doesn't. My daughter doesn't have a driver's license. She's a 30, and she's like, well, yeah, I'll go get one if I can, when I have the time. But she takes public transportation now, with more young people working out of their houses because of the pandemic and that whole thing happening. Less and less people are driving cars, and that's what the automakers are faced with, is how do we get young people excited about cars? How do we get them into an understanding, that cars are, how do we foster that same romance that our generation had? And a lot of people say that in many ways it's gone, that a car now is much more utility than it is anything else. And it's funny because you have some of the best cars ever made coming out now. When you look at the engines and electricity and all the things that are going on in automotive, it's hang on a second.
Take your time.
Hang, it's actually hailing. Michael, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to
Gonna
move this
move.
inside
Okay.
because it's getting pretty nasty out here.
All right.
So I'm going to pack it up, and
Do you want
I'm going to
to
bring
cut
it
the show?
inside. So hang on.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere. Talk to the people for a minute, Michael.
I was going to talk to them about Tesla, which has lowered their price for the 6th time. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times they've lowered their price on their online costs for the car because they've had trouble with reputation and delivery and batteries and a number of things. And they've had trouble, quite frankly, with the image of their owner. Elon Musk is not becoming the most market-friendly human being these days. You can ask the board at Twitter what they think about that. So I was going to ask, what happens when a car breaks down its price 6 times in the matter of 6 or 8 months? Do they have to offer refunds to the other people who paid full freight?
No, unfortunately, they don't. They don't swing that way. They basically say, all right, hang on
You're
one
on your
second.
own.
I'm going to maneuver with this.
And we get to see Vinnie's press pass up close and personal. If you could take a picture of it, you could. We are breaking up, Ben. I don't know if you can hear me. I cannot hear him. So I don't know if I'm on, but if I am, I'll mention that all along the California coast, and especially at Point Reyes, California, in Marin County, thousands, and I mean not tens, but 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 little blue sea creatures that float on the top of the ocean in groups. They're brilliant blue with long tentacles that hang down. We used to call them Portuguese man of war. They are not Portuguese man of war. We were totally wrong as kids, and used to step on them with your heel, and it would pop the float bubble for this little sea creature. They are washing up and down the California coast in extraordinary numbers. And the odd part of this is not the story that they do it, because they do that every year. And they washed up on beaches in Hawaii all the way to California for a millennium. But the numbers this year are extraordinary. And it's going on right now where the beaches are littered with these little blue float devices that are cute little animals that are brilliant blue, that have stinging tentacles. So there is a downside for messing with them. And my advice is, when you see them on the beach, do not try to crush them with your heel. Be a sensible beach comber and walk somewhere else. And finding that somewhere else is increasingly challenging because of the fact that there are so damn many of them on the beaches now, from Central California all the way to Northern California. I don't know their Latin name. I wish I did, but they're little blue floaters. And if you've ever lived near the beach in the Western world, you've seen them. You're certainly going to see them today. I'm wearing, instead of my traditional San Francisco Giants hat, the hat of the Golden State Warriors, who have lost the last two games to the Sacramento Kings, the revitalized Sacramento Kings, revitalized with the coaching staff of the Golden State Warriors, I might add. But that's business. That can't be avoided. And the Draymond Green has been now suspended for game number 3 for his outgoing play. He stomped on the chest of who was that player for the Kings? Let's see if I can get his name here. I'm not even certain I'm on the air, so I don't know why I'm being so careful. Sabonis, yeah, they both went down, and Draymond ended up on top of him, feet first, and did a little dance before he managed to free himself from the entwined embrace of Mr. Sabonis. Sabonis has got his ribs x-rayed. I think he's going to be okay. He's sore. And so is Draymond Green, who's sore about not playing in this next game, because the Warriors are in some trouble right now when you're down 2-0 to the Sacramento Kings, a revitalized, exciting team who, when they're playing at home, have now a Sacramento home field advantage or home court advantage that they never seemed to have in the past. And the fact that they have turned this into a exciting team with the leadership of the ex-Warrior coaching staff is just a testament to how good this team used to be, and how the playoffs are treating it rudely. They're getting some very rude treatment from the team that's supposed to roll over and die. The Sacramento Kings are not rolling over and dying for anybody, and especially the Warriors, because they have a natural rivalry there. I remember when the Lakers used to play the Kings and said, Phil Jackson called Sacramento a cow town. And I can't begin to tell you how that went over in the state capital of California. A cow town.
I can't imagine it went over any good.
It wasn't received that well. And Phil Jackson just didn't give a damn. They hated him in Sacramento, and he loved it. The big guy would stand there and just take their abuse with a beatific grin on his face, because he knew that you could take a Laker like Vlade Divac and put him on the Kings, and it wasn't going to make any difference. He could flop all he wanted to. The Lakers were going to prevail. But that was in another time. The Lakers aren't like that anymore, at least not this year. And the Warriors, who had been that team that everyone had to beat, are down, looking like they can be beat. And the psychological edge has to go to the Kings again, even though they're playing the next game in San Francisco, just because Draymond Green will be not there. I think because if you're suspended as a result of an action on the court, you can't sit on the bench in street clothes, can you? I think you have to be out, gone. But I'm not absolutely convinced that that's right. If he can sit on the bench, things are going to be worse for the Kings than they know, because the power and the influence of poor Draymond. And if he's not on your team, I understand why you might dislike Draymond Green. But he's always been on my team, and I love him. And I have a Draymond Green T-shirt. And Draymond, wherever you are, and however you feel today, show up and be the psychological leader for the team, because this damn Warrior team needs a win. And you could help. You could help psychologically. And then when you get back on the court, keep your feet off the big guys and give me 15 points and 15 rebounds, and all is forgiven.
Well, Mikey, it's interesting that last night something happened in Seattle. Well, it didn't happen in Seattle, but something happened for Seattle that hadn't happened in a long time up here.
Tell me.
There was a playoff win by a team.
Oh, the Kraken.
The Kraken won their first ever playoff game last night in Colorado. They're facing the whatever they're calling the Colorado team these days, the Avalanche.
Right.
And why wouldn't you call them the Rockies? But anyway,
they have a baseball team named the Rockies.
Yeah. Baseball team has the name, but I miss the days where all the teams in town had one name.
I know, but how weird would it be if it was the Long Island Yankees?
Or the Long Island Mets? That'd even be worse. But it was interesting last night that the town. I mean, this is how Seattle is. I mean, they won their first playoff game. I don't know how much time they even gave it on the news. I saw one newscast give it about 30 seconds.
Whoa.
I think people are happy to have the Kraken here, and maybe it'll be different Saturday when they come back to Climate Pledge Arena. But it was kind of interesting that it wasn't. It didn't seem to have the same cachet that the Sonics had, and obviously the team's around a year.
Where do they play? In the Climate Pledge Arena?
Yeah, it used to be the Key Arena. Now it's the Climate Pledge Arena.
Is this like Pledge is a floor wax? Pledge is also a
you have
topping?
To pledge before you go in that you'll be politically correct and politically happy. And if you don't pledge to save the whales, save the spotted owls, and save green stamps, you can't go in.
I'd like to think that the Kraken fans, if they slip on the stairs going into the stadium, fall down and break their tooth, that they're still going to go to the game.
I'd
like to think they're that tough.
But yeah, because if $500 a ticket, you ain't missing a game.
No.
Somebody's
got to pay for all that pledge.
$250.
Whoa.
I mean, it's no, the one thing about basketball is there used to be inexpensive seats. I mean, even for the playoffs, you could find $30 seats. Forget that. I mean, hockey is expensive to begin with.
How did they model that stadium to accommodate a NHL rink? Because it was built so it wouldn't fit a rink.
They completely rebuilt it.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing that's the same in that stadium, in that arena, is the roof. That roof that people hold so near and dear here in Seattle.
It's distinctive.
As really, I mean, that's the only piece of it that you would recognize. I guess they dug down, went a couple of stories down, and sunk the bowl and widened out the seats so that arc of a roof sits on probably less than half of the whole arena. So it's a lot of it's subterranean. It makes a great bomb shelter.
Makes me think of the show that debuted last night, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Don't dig. It depends where you dig and how you dig, but my advice is don't dig on Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch? Well, what is that?
There is a 512-acre ranch in Utah that has more paranormal activity on it than any other place on Earth. UFOs, light orbs, skinwalking creatures, underground UFO bases. The list goes on and on. The list of these things is crazy. And one of the things you don't want to do because it provokes what they call the ranch, the it of the ranch, is that it doesn't like any digging. So don't dig on that ranch. And it's a fascinating show called The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. You might want to try it.
I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen it or even heard about it. So what is that on Netflix?
History.
History. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's actually an attainable channel for many people.
Yes. It's a channel that might actually be on your television list.
Have you kept track of what's going on with all these sports stations that are all of a sudden going bankrupt?
No, tell me about it. I haven't heard of that.
It's interesting that several of these sports stations that Rupert Murdoch, and we'll get to his other troubles in a minute.
The regional Fox stations?
Yeah, the regional Fox stations, he had to sell them. He sold them off. He decided that, he was going to get rid of them. And he sold them to, I guess, Disney, and Disney couldn't keep them because of ESPN. So they turned around and sold them. At half the price they paid for them.
Oh, dear.
Which they sold them to a consortium that owns Bally Sports. So a lot of these stations are now renamed Bally Sports, and Bally Sports has gone belly up.
Now, how did Bally go belly up? I thought they were using other people's money.
Well, they were, but I guess their debt service for this transaction to keep these stations running was phenomenal. They bought something in essence. They were very American about it. They bought something they couldn't afford.
I see. Now I understand.
Yeah, I mean, they basically went to venture capitalists and said, we should buy this. And the venture capitalist said, well, you can't afford it. And they said, well, that's never stopped anybody before.
It didn't
and
stop
they gave
Rupert
him a Visa
Murdoch.
card and said, all right, go out and buy it.
Yeah, Rupert didn't like it, and he sold it. Disney couldn't afford it. They sold it. So that seemed like a perfect opportunity to buy something that had already been proven to be unsavory in terms of its financial success.
Well, I don't think it was that ESPN couldn't afford it. I think that ESPN was told by the Justice Department that they couldn't keep it, that it would be a monopoly. That's why they had to sell it for half of what they paid for it. And it makes me wonder if, and this is a big question among so many people in sports right now, how is streaming affecting sports? Are people that are used to turning on their cable? Well, all of a sudden they're not turning on their cable anymore. They're buying streaming services.
Well, but your streaming service has to carry the game, or else you'll just be watching drama and other exciting programming. But you won't be watching.
I mean,
no, it doesn't.
Amazon Prime carries some baseball, and Netflix, I think, carries football. But I don't think you have those regional sports stations carrying.
I can think of two failures right here in California that are major disappointments. The Dodger specialized television network that you must purchase specially just for Dodger games is rejected by Dodger fans. All their games used to be on Channel 11. No more. Nope. We're gonna have our own channel. We're gonna have our own station. We're gonna have our own production. We're gonna do it ourselves, and we're gonna make it expensive and pay for cable. And you're not going to buy it. And that's going to put us in a weird position. And then the other major failure is the Pac-12 network, which manages to take perfectly good football games and put them on a channel that no one can get and no one wants. And so if you want to see Washington State and the Huskies, you have to come to grips with the Pac-12 station in Seattle, and I bet that most people don't have it or have never seen it or wait for the free weekend.
Well, the interesting too is what's the Pac-10 or the Pac-12, I should say? What are they going to be in a year? What schools are going to be in that? Once UCLA and USC get out of there, I mean, Washington is talking about bolting. I mean, you may not have enough to warrant the streaming service. You may have, San Diego State and
Fresno State.
you know, Fresno State, and a bunch of schools like that. But the Pac-10, as we know it, or the Pac-12 as we know it, I don't know how it survives.
Well, it'll be back to the Pac-10 if there are no other changes than USC and UCLA leaving. But
Yeah,
it
but
seems
they're already talking to two or three schools to try to replace them, but they're
yeah,
going to lose. I mean, I don't know how many people in LA watch San Diego State. I mean, San Diego State's a great team, but
no,
it's not. It's that they're essentially losing the number two market in the country.
gone.
That's a lot of impressions that you can't sell.
And it's a rabid fan base. I don't have to tell you what the
Oh yeah,
locals think of
I mean,
that
I got
kind of.
friends that are USC fans. They're like, you know, but
They're troubled souls.
yeah, and the other side of the coin is you have these college kids that now are going to have to travel how many gazillion miles every year to play these games against Alabama and this school and that school, and what are they going into the Big Ten? I mean, how are these? What are you expecting these kids to do?
I expect them to enter the portal if they're not happy. That's what I expect them to do.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what's going to happen. You have, now in our day and back in the old days, the student athletes didn't have much of a choice.
They had
If
no.
they wanted to sit out, it cost them a year of their eligibility.
Yep.
Now the players have at least some kind of power where they can say, "Well, I don't like that. I'll just go up to Washington or to Washington State or to wherever." That's why you have Washington State's quarterbacking for Arizona. I mean, because he decided, well, I want to get off the Palouse.
And he got out and did a good job for Arizona, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
But
and
that opening is available for anyone, especially the more talented teams who have three quarterbacks, two of which would be playing for somebody else if they weren't on your team. They want out. They want to play. They want to make a name for themselves. They have a short period of time to make an impression. They want to go to a good team, and they'll make a relationship in scouting these teams that has to hold up in two ways. They commit to one school, but they keep the other school on the hook. They say, hold on, if we don't have a good year, look for me in the portal because that's where you'll find me.
well, it's a professional sport now.
Yeah.
I mean, it always has been a semi-professional sport. And now it's fully a professional sport, college sports. Uh, I don't see any difference anymore, except that the taxpayers fully fund the stadiums and the college. Other than that, what's the difference between a college team and a professional team?
Well, I wonder when the next major stadium will be built on a college campus or for a college team. I wonder who will pay for that one because the financial structure of the support system for college football has changed dramatically. And has there been a major sports stadium built for college football in the past 5 years that I'm not familiar with? Probably.
I don't know. They do a lot of renovations on the old ones. They rebuild them. Uh, many of these facilities when the high money '90s were around, rebuilt them. Rebuilt Husky Stadium just underwent a major renovation. More seats, more luxury boxes. Um, more.
More stuff.
And if you want to watch college sports these days, I mean, the reality is, yeah, people still go to UW, but if you want to watch real college sports, you go to Division Two. You go to places like Slippery Rock up in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania, or you go to places like PLU, Pacific Lutheran, where Frosty
How,
Westring used to be the coach.
how
And you watch
slippery is
those guys.
Vinny? Can you remember how slippery that rock is from personal experience?
I've actually been through Slippery Rock a few times, and I got to tell you something. It's pretty freaking slippery. I could never get up to the top of the rock, but I'm not a good climber. You know,
Well,
a slippery fellow to begin with.
they do tell you even before you get into town that the rocks are slippery. So it's up to you to
You
make up
know,
your.
they have two signs: rocks and icky.
Icky Wood?
Yeah, I see why icky.
Oh, I see.
I know you do.
I see. I
I
see
know.
why. I see why they do that.
That's why I'm explaining it to you.
Why do I have to be? Why do you get the good line and I have to be the straight
Because
man?
I thought of it.
And the funny thing is, the straight man in Abbott Costello was the one who hits the funny guy. Why do you hit the funny guy? He's funny. You're not. Don't hit the funny guy. Let him be
Yeah.
funny.
Didn't you want to see Costello just pop him just once?
I'm sure he must have done that. It had to happen. Some alcohol may have been involved, but it had to happen.
Although they said that they were friends. I mean, they had some disagreements, but that they were basically friends until they died.
Well, they had a good they had the perfect mix of personalities to be a team.
Yeah, yeah, they really did. They were one of the great comedy teams. I know Wednesday we usually talk about a comedy team, but they had just such a synergy, such one filled in, one painted a canvas, and the other one filled in the colors.
And you know
Where
when they
they
met
each filled
when they
in.
met Frankenstein and Dracula or movies like that, they were horrible movies. They were funny, they were predictable, but these guys, even in a horrible movie, were lovable.
Yeah,
You had to go with Abbott and Costello. You had to pick them over Frankenstein every time. They were going to be in trouble for the whole movie and escape by the skin of their teeth. And you knew that before you saw the flick, and that you still enjoyed it.
well, I mean, it always was. How could you dislike Lou Costello? I mean, what could you? I mean, Bud Abbott, I could see you looking, but how could any? I mean, how could anybody dislike except Mike the cop? How
Yeah,
could
well,
anybody dislike him?
and I'd like to know where he got those ties because his ties were not just long; they were very long.
Yeah, he must
And
have shopped at the big guy, because they used to have to make those ties longer,
and
so they fit over his belly.
he had a fabulous way of playing with it when he talked. Not unlike Oliver Norval Hardy.
There was a couple other guys that used their ties. Oliver Hardy used his tie, and who was the other guy? Ed Wynn.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
he
think
had
it
a
was
little.
Ed Wynn that used to
Right.
use his tie. And
He would fuddle between his funny lines.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, Mikey. Well, listen, I'm
You
gonna.
got work to do. You got cars to drive. Have
I got
fun.
cars to drive. I got Rolls Royces to take through the track. I got stuff to do. So I'm gonna wrap this puppy up. But how about if I catch up with you on Friday morning when we'll probably be able to tell you who won this thing,
It'll be a Fractious Friday.
and
So
it will be a Fractious Friday.
take notes and tell us all about it. Have fun,
I will,
Ben.
I will take notes, take video, tell you all about it if the Lord's willing, the creek don't rise. Uh, Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine, especially when you're in
Take
the
care,
back
Mikey.
seat. See you, Ben.